PTF back with you on the In the Money Media YouTube channel. Very happy to be joined by a man who had a pretty enjoyable Saturday. I'm going to say winning 3 races at the Great Race Place, including a couple of stakes. We're going to talk to him about all of it, but we're going to start with the headline journalism, not just winning the San Felipe, but doing it in authoritative fashion. Michael, were you surprised by what you saw out there on the track on Saturday from journalism?
I can't say I was surprised. I thought the horse had trained well enough to certainly be a factor on Saturday. I guess I could have imagined a scenario where he could win. Obviously, Barnes' reputation precedes him, and what I've seen of him here in the mornings, it was pretty hard to knock. Thankfully, the race was a mile and a 16th and not a mile. That performance was pretty special on journalism's behalf. I thought his last 3/8 were spectacular.
He got down on his belly and ran, that's for sure. Looking at the race before it was run, had I been you heading into the race, a hard charging second would have been, A-okay in a short field against a horse that was going to presumably have a tactical advantage. You had to have a whole other layer of emotion associated with what you saw when he laid it down like that.
Yeah, definitely. And just as you said, if we would have finished a hard charging second, I would have been delighted with that, knowing it, hopefully 4 weeks from now, 5 weeks from now, we see a little bit more progression and we see a little more distance in the Santa Anita Derby at 1 1/8 miles. So a lot of things to be excited about. This time of year, it's more or less just about keeping the horses healthy and letting them kind of develop on their own.
I want to ask you specifically about the speed figure journalism earned. This came back a 108 on the Beyer Speed Figure scale. That's, California Chrome in the Santa Anita Derby type of a number. First and foremost, do you care at all what the figures say when you have a horse run like journalism did?
I guess you do a little bit, obviously using them as a guide. To kind of put him in the same kind of a league as California Chrome is a little exciting and a little daunting at the same time. But he's a horse that obviously has shown us tons of upside. If we're fortunate enough to go ahead and have all systems go here in the spring, the first Saturday in May could possibly be, his third start in the form cycle. So all exciting things to be mentioned to a horse, as I said, like a California Chrome type is a big deal.
I think a lot about the difference between how horsemen view the world and horse players. When a horse player sees a number that high, a lot of them will reflexively think, ooh, maybe there's going to be a bounce. Maybe the horse is going to react from this. Does having such a fast effort on the clock change your approach at all in terms of preparations going forward?
Knowing what our target may be or could possibly be, the Santa Anita Derby, I think you come up with a game plan. As you said, from a horse player standpoint, I tend to kind of always revert back to what Ron Anderson says, and sometimes too fast, too soon when looking at sheets and things like this, and patterns on horses, especially patterns on good horses. We're coming off of about a 10-week layoff here to put up this performance we saw over the weekend. We know we've got what looks to be probably 2 works to our next start. So, or even 3 works. I haven't worked it out yet what we're going to do, but possibly 2 or 3 works before his next start. So we'll let journalism go ahead and sort of dictate how we go about getting there. This time of year, you're always worried about a little bit of weather, although our weather in California is different to a lot of places we've seen, Kentucky, Florida, New York, what have you. So we'll hope for some clear sailing and a lot of good mornings between now and early April and see where it takes us.
What do you think about that idea of too fast, too soon from a horseman point of view? Is it something you actively worry about, or is it more like what you just laid out, you let the horse tell you?
I think you do worry about it. I think you notice it sometimes in some of these horses that are uber talented. Even though it looks like they're doing it easily, they are exerting themselves. They are putting forth a tremendous effort. And while the horse may have not have been, jockey may have not have, turn the stick over or seem like he was finishing, under light urging. They're still exerting an effort. They're still putting forth a lot. And as I said, we're talking about a 10-week layoff here. So we'll see what the next one brings. But judging by what I've seen so far here the last few days, very pleased with the way he's bounced out of it.
That's great. That you saved me asking that question. That's good. Let me ask a more historical question about journalism. This horse obviously always meant to be a pretty good thing. Cost $825,000 by the great Curlin out of a stakes-winning mare. At what point did he look to you like a Kentucky Derby prospect specifically? I mean, how optimistic do you get when you get these high-priced babies?
I wouldn't say he had looked anything like a Kentucky Derby prospect to us earlier in the summer. These 2-year-olds, you're just trying to get them in a routine and trying to kind of get them to understand your program and, gate schools, breezes, working in company, working behind horses, standing at the gate, all these sorts of things. They had all come to him very easy. He was starting to get ready almost a little too quick. We had a slight little setback with him. So we chose to go ahead and give him about 3 or 4 weeks, let him get back to where we thought we needed to be to have a smooth sort of transition in getting to his first start. His first race was, I would say, sneaky good. On paper, it doesn't look like much. But if you're looking at the horse, you're looking at his pedigree, you're knowing that 2 turns is obviously what he would relish. We were prepared for a big effort 3 weeks after his first start, 1 work and 3 weeks after his first start for what we were expecting to be a solid performance, and he did deliver upon that.
Absolutely. And then from there, once you circled Los Alamitos Futurity, you must have been dreaming about it at least a little bit, right?
Yeah, obviously you start thinking about some of the horses that have won the Los Alamitos Futurity. Obviously, Bob has made that his playground over there at Los Alamitos. So to be able to go over there and knock one out, a former grade 1 that's now a grade 2, unfortunately, that's part of the California landscape. So 3 weeks, 3 races, 7 weeks. We had seen enough to realize that, hey, let's go ahead and take a step back here and see how we want to go ahead and attack 2025 and going down this Triple Crown route.
I want to ask you about Umberto Rispoli, who you've had a lot of success with, including another stakes win at the grade 1 level in the Kilroe Mile on Saturday. I think he's somebody who has really impressed people who follow California racing closely, but maybe to some of the people watching this show who are, tune in at Triple Crown time, they might not know that much about Umberto. What do they need to know about him?
Yeah, he's been a wonderful addition to the California jockey colony with guys coming and going, retiring, and what have you. Umberto's a very cerebral jockey. He's ridden all over the world. He has a wonderful, wonderful kind of idea of pace and race scenario and race shapes and things like that. He's very good at watching what other horses do around him as well. I think I really picked up on that when, spending time around Angel Cordero, Ramon Dominguez, when these guys break down races afterwards, they see things that you don't see. So I think that's a feather in his cap that he studies a lot. He's well-versed. He knows the nuances and sort of, I guess, his colleagues. He knows their moves, their ins, their outs, and things like that. We have done very well together. We have a lot of success together. He understands the way I like things done in the morning, and sometimes I think I'm almost more in tune to what we do in the mornings here than what transpires in the afternoon, because you're always trying to kind of make things perfect and lead horses over to the paddock, in the best shape possible. And he has certainly helped us achieve some of these goals here as of late. Obviously, Formidable Man won our first grade 1 together here over the summer. Smooth Like Straight 2 years before that, and now with a horse like Journalism, it's exciting to see where the 3 of us could go.
Well, mentioning in the company with Angel Cordero and Ramon Dominguez, 2 of my all-time favorites. That's if you can mention him in that kind of company, that in terms of how cerebral he is, that's still just a tremendous compliment. So that tells the viewers all they need to know, I think, about him. Great stuff there. Before I let you go, Michael, I do have to ask, because there's been a horse that we've been tracking closely at the In the Money Media YouTube channel through our Derby content, Bullard, who obviously had a setback. I want to just ask you for a little bit of an update on him.
He's back on track now. Went ahead and sent him to Hot Springs for the Rebel Stakes last weekend, or weekend before last, excuse me. Shipped in there, got a little bit of a shipping fever, was certainly a gut punch. This horse had put together 3 or 4 works before we sent him back there that I thought were possibly as good as a horse could work. And who knows, had he been able to run 2 weeks ago, I'd have really, it really would have been blue skies around here. But such as racing is, we find these setbacks, and it's kind of all about the way you attack things going forward. He is a horse I hold in the highest regard.
All right, that's good to know that our enthusiasm there has not been misplaced. Obviously, we'll see what happens with him in the coming weeks. Michael, really appreciate you coming on the show today, and we'll have to check in with you again before we get too far along. Always a pleasure, my friend.
Are you in the Brooklyn bungalow? Is that what you call it?
I like bungalow, might be better. I usually say bunker. It's more of a bunker down here in the basement in Brooklyn. Great stuff, Michael. Appreciate you, and we'll be talking soon.